Say EFT class 3 Selenium test process. Selenium test process or Selenium test life cycle. See, Selenium test process or Selenium test life cycle. See, phases. First phase, test planning. Next, test design. Here, two sub phases: generating basic tests, Next, enhancing tests. Next, running and debugging tests. Next, analyzing test result and reporting defects. Analyzing test results and reporting defects. See, these are the phases in Selenium test process or Selenium life cycle. Okay, before going to discuss Selenium test process, I will explain manual test process, software test process or software test life cycle. A brief introduction about software test process. Then we will discuss Selenium test process. I think all of you familiar with this software test process. Just a minute. Preeti, can you hear me? Preeti.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. See, software test process, or you can say software test life cycle, STLC, software test life cycle. See, actually it is not part of our syllabus, manual test process. In order to understand our Selenium test process, first you need to familiar with manual test process. Just a brief introduction. See, software test process may vary from one company to another, sometimes one project to another. But what we are going to discuss is standard test process, IEEE standard test process. Some companies may not follow standard test process. Already I told STLC varies from one company to another, sometimes one project to another, but this is standard process. See, in this IEEE standard process, we have 4 phases. First phase, test planning. See, phases. First phase, test planning. Next, test design. Next, test execution. Last one, test closure. Sometimes they specify 5 phases: test planning, test design, test execution. Next, evaluating exit criteria. Last one, test closure. Okay, I will explain evaluating exit criteria also in this test closure. See, basically these 4 phases: test planning, test design, test execution, and test closure. See, first, all of you put mute. Somebody's making noise. Avoid that one. First, test planning. First, test planning. Input or references. Input or references. Next, tasks. Next, output. For every phase, input or references. Next, output. Okay, input. Can you tell me, Madhavi, input for test planning phase of software test process, or STLC, software testing life cycle? Madhavi. What about you, Madhavi? Okay, put mute. Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Chaitanya. Input or
Business requirements,
pardon?
business requirements document,
Business requirements or software requirements?
software.
Software requirements. Okay. Okay. Can you tell me, Tushar, references are input for test planning phase in software test process or software test life cycle? This is core, basic. You must know.
No idea.
Okay, cool. Preeti, I think Preeti can answer it.
Yeah, the hardware, software,
Hardware,
resources.
software. Okay, hardware, software is not reference here. Just specify the documents required for test planning phase.
System requirement document, business requirement document.
Okay, see, requirements. Okay, name whatever it might be. If it is SRS or URS, some companies use name SRS, software requirement specification. Some companies CRS, customer requirement specification. Some companies URS, user requirement specification. But SRS is famous term and standard term. Okay, anyhow, requirements. Next, requirements. Next, no idea. Saujanya. Okay. Okay. Requirements. Next, project plan. See, project manager prepares project plan. Testing is part, test planning, for test planning, project plan required. Testing schedule depends on project schedule. See, project plan. Next, test strategy. Test strategy. See, test strategy is company level document. It is for one or more projects. It describes how to test. It describes test levels, test types, and test design techniques within test levels, etc. Test strategy describes how to test. Here our test lead implements test strategy for current project. See, these three are the mandatory documents: requirements, project plan, test strategy. Mandatory references or input. Next, optional. See, design docs if available. Next, project guidelines. Project guidelines docs, one or more if available. Next, corporate standards document, etc. See, these are optional. Last three optional, first three mandatory. Okay. Requirements, project plan, test strategy, mandatory documents. Next, design docs, project guideline documents, process guideline. See, process guideline document. Next, just a minute. Okay. Process guidelines docs, corporate standards, etc. Next, tasks. Can you tell me, Rahman, what are the important tasks in test planning phase? Important tasks.
This important task is say to prepare test data.
Test data, that is in test design phase. Now we are in planning phase. See,
So,
first
right.
understanding and analyzing test requirements. See, requirements, three flavors: business requirements, software requirements, test requirements. See, software requirements derives from business requirements. Next, test requirements from software requirements. Three flavors, test requirements. Next, Josh, Preeti, continue. Understanding and analyzing test requirements. Next, risk analysis. Continue.
Yeah, the entry and exit criteria can be considered in task.
Entry and exit criteria we specify in test plan documentation.
Okay.
See.
Test strategy.
Who is telling?
Kamala.
Kamala, tell me.
Test strategy.
Test strategy implementation.
Yes.
Test strategy.
Team formation.
Just a minute. Implementation. Next, see here I am listing out important tasks. Understanding requirements. Requirement, okay. Next, test strategy implementation. How to test. Next, test estimations. High level task. Test estimations. See, test estimations in terms of time, before time, important factor is,
Scope, sir.
pardon?
Budget.
Scope. What to test? Scope.
Scope. Who is telling?
It's a Sri Lakshmi.
Yes, scope. Scope of the project is important factor. Scope. What is scope? Suppose banking and financial application, next ERP application. Both are important applications only, but suppose ERP application fails for one day, that organization can take attendance and other activities manually. After rectifying the problem, they can enter the data. Suppose if banking application fails for one day or 1 hour, all customers under the bank not control under the bank, all customers of the bank not control under the bank. See, lakhs of customers get dissatisfaction. So banking, or you can say financial applications, having more scope than other applications. See, scope of the application is important factor. Next, time. Next, resources available, human and environmental resources. Next, budget. See, these are the considerable factors for test estimations. Okay. See, first requirement, next how to test, strategy, next estimation. Next, Preeti, test planning, test plan documentation. Test plan documentation is first or team formation is first? Which one is first? Test plan documentation or team formation?
Test planning documentation.
Yes. Test plan documentation is first. All team members' contribution is required for test plan documentation. See. What you told? I forgot. Preeti, what you told?
Formation is
Test plan documentation you told, na? No. Team formation is first. Hello?
Yes, sir.
What you told? Test plan documentation first, na? You told?
Yes.
No. Team formation is first. Why? All team members' contribution is required for test planning. Some companies may not follow this formality, but first team formation, then test plan documentation. Okay, na?
Okay, sir.
Team formation. Next, test plan documentation. See, author of the test plan, test lead or team lead, but all team members' contribution required. Next, configuration management planning. It is optional but important. Configuration management planning. Configuration management planning. Preeti, have any idea? You have experience in manual testing, na? What is configuration management? Configuration management. Any idea, Saujanya? Saujanya, configuration management.
No, sir.
Okay, cool. See, it is optional but important. I think Sri Lakshmi can answer it. Sri Lakshmi.
I think two functions, maybe two functionalities. If you configure, it has to work.
Configuration management planning. Okay. See, configuring, creating and organizing all configurable items. Creating and organizing all configurable items. In simple terms, just organizing all configurable items. See, this configuration management not only for testing team, it is for all stakeholders of the project. It is required for development team, testing team, and project management also. Okay, forget about remaining teams. Our testing point of view, what are the configurable items? What software and hardware we use for testing all comes under configuration management. Test plan, requirements, test plan, test case, test data, test summary report, opened and closed defect reports, all configurable items. What software and hardware we use for testing all belongs to configurable items. Okay. Say nowadays for configuration management, some tools available, example VSS, Visual Source Safe, etc. Okay. Manually you can maintain configurable items. See, configuration management planning. Next, Tushar contribute. Test plan documentation, configuration management planning. Next, define the high level tasks.
Traceability matrix.
Yes, traceability. Traceability matrix. Traceability matrix documentation. Say, test lead creates this document. Test lead or team lead creates this document, but all team members update this document throughout the life cycle. All team members update this document throughout the life cycle. First of all, what is this traceability matrix document? Srivalli, what is the main function of traceability matrix document? Srivalli. Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Chaitanya, what is the main function of traceability matrix? See, very important concept.
Mapping requirements.
Mapping requirements
Like
with
Test cases.
with respect to the business like software requirements. What is that?
Mapping. Once again, tell me once again. Mapping.
Software requirements with the requirements what we developed.
No, mapping the software requirement with the test cases.
Good. Mapping test cases with requirements. Simple. Mapping requirements with test cases or test cases with requirements. See, mapping requirements with test cases so that we can find all requirements covered or not, any duplicate test cases are there or not. See, mapping between requirements and test cases. Next, Preeti contribute.
I don't know, sir.
Okay, cool. See, this is manual test process, formal test process. Okay. See, define test environment setup. Test environment. Define test environment. See, test lead defines test environment. See, for this test environment, 3 steps, 3 phases. In this test planning phase, test lead defines test environment setup. Next, who implements test environment? Technical support people. network administrator or system administrators. Technical support people implement test environment setup, implement. Next, verify test environment setup. Testers or team members verify test environment setup during test execution phase. See, define test environment, implement test environment, and verify test environment. Test lead defines test environment, what software and hardware required for testing. Next, technical support people implement test environment. Testers verify test environment. Okay, these are the important tasks in test planning phase. Any other, Kamala? Any other?
I think that's all, sir.
Okay. Next, output. Output of this phase, test plan document. This is input for next phase, test plan document. Okay. Just tell me, Preeti, what are the important tasks in test planning phase? Preeti. Already mentioned, just list out.
Yeah, the input.
Okay, I am asking
Sorry,
only
requirement.
tasks. What are the important tasks in test planning phase?
Okay, understanding and analyzing the test requirement,
Ah,
risk analysis,
ah,
test strategy implementation,
ah,
test estimation,
hmm,
team formation,
hmm,
test plan documentation,
hmm,
configuration management planning,
hmm.
traceability matrix, and the last one
Traceability
is
matrix documentation. Next, last one,
define test environment.
define test environment. Okay, okay, put mute. Next, Rahman, what are the reference documents for test planning phase? References.
For references is most of the company SRS, as requirement documents,
Ah,
project plan, test strategy,
yes, these are the mandatory documents.
mandatory.
Next, optional.
Also we have design documents. We have a process guidelines documents. We have corporate standard documents,
etc. Okay, good.
etc.
Okay. Tushar, what is the output of this phase, test planning phase? Output.
Test plan document.
Yes. Primary output is test plan document. Okay. Next, second phase, test design. Test design. See, first input or references. See, as usual, requirements. Requirements is mandatory input for all phases. Requirements. For example, requirement means SRS. Software requirement specification. Next, project plan not required. Test plan. Test plan document. Next, Madhavi, anything else? Requirements, test plan document. Sri Lakshmi. Input for test design phase. Say yes or no.
No, sir.
Okay, cool. Requirements, test plan document. These are the mandatory inputs. Next, test case template. Next, see these three optional reference documents for test design phase also. Test design phase also. Next, application not mandatory. Using requirements and test plan documentation, test plan document, you can create test cases. Next, tasks. Important tasks. Understanding the requirements, test requirements. Next, generate test scenarios, outlines. Next, test case documentation. See, one scenario may have one or more test cases, positive test cases, negative test cases, etc. See, test case documentation. Next, test data collection, output. Why I am using this term collection? Test data collection. Some test data testers prepare. For example, phone number object is there. It has to take 10-digit numeric values. For that we can prepare test data. Suppose some cities information is there, cities information. That cities information depends on customer business that we have to collect from the customer. Next, some information we collect from developers. See, that's why test data collection. Some test data we collect from customers, some test data from developers, some test data we can prepare. See, output of this phase. Test case document, one or more test case docs. Next, test data. This is a brief introduction about test design phase. Tell me, Rahman, what are the important tasks in test design phase?
Important tasks in test design phase are understanding test requirement, generate test scenarios, and test case documentation, and test data collection.
Good. Test data collection. Next, come to third phase, test execution. Test execution.
I have one question.
Ask me.
Yeah, what about the use case?
See, use cases different. Use cases, more elaborated documentation for requirements. Based on, see, some companies prefer use cases, means user scenarios. Use cases derived from requirements only. Based on use cases, developers write code documents. Next, testers design test cases. See, use cases not mandatory. Some companies prepare use cases. Based on use cases, developers can use use cases and testers also can use use cases. From use cases, you can derive test cases. Okay, na?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
See, what is the source for writing use cases? Source
The
for
requirements
only. See,
right.
requirements only. From requirements only, you can derive use cases. Use cases are useful for both developers and testers. If use cases available, more useful, more elaborated documentation. See, use cases, business scenarios or user scenarios. Use cases are business scenarios or user scenarios. Based on use cases, you can easily derive test cases. Use cases are important for use cases are useful for both development team and testing team, but use cases not mandatory for every project. Some companies prefer use cases. Okay, na?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome. Next.
This is me. I have one question, sir.
Ask me.
So who will prepare these use cases, sir? Like a BS will give us use cases or a test lead? Who will prepare?
See, that depends on company. In most of the scenarios, business analyst or functional analyst prepares use cases. But in some companies, senior developers and senior testers also involve in use case preparation. But formality is business analyst or functional analyst category people prepares this use case document. Okay, na?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome. Business analyst or functional analyst category people prepares use case documents. These are useful for both development team as well as testing team. Okay. Test case. Tell me, Tushar, what is use case? In simple terms, what is use case?
That elaborate more the requirements.
Okay. More elaborated documentation of requirements. Business scenarios are user scenarios. Use case means
the user scenarios.
Business scenario or user scenario.
Those are user scenarios.
Okay. Business use case means business scenario or user scenario. Okay. Test execution phase. Here, input. See, requirements mandatory. Requirements. Next, test plan. Test plan document. In this test plan document, you can find entry criteria, exit criteria, suspension criteria, etc. Next, test case docs. Next, test data. Test data. Anything else, Preeti? Requirements, test plan, test case docs, test data.
That's it, sir.
Okay. Say. Next, defect report. Template. Suppose if our company using any defect management tool provides defect report template. If it is manual process, using Excel sheet also you can report defects. Nowadays, most of the companies using any one defect management tool. Every defect management tool provides their own templates. You can customize the template also. Okay, defect report template. Next, readiness of AUT, application under test. See, for test design, application not mandatory. Using requirements document and test case template you can design, but for test execution, application is mandatory. Readiness of AUT. Next, readiness of test environment. Test environment, or you can say test lab. Next, tasks. Tasks. First one, verify test environment setup. Test environment setup. Already I told. Who verifies test environment setup? Testers, team members. Next, create test batches, execution queue. Create test batches, execution queue. Next, test execution. Don't confuse this test execution, selected one. This test execution is phase. This test execution is task. See, we have some levels of test execution. We have some levels of test execution. Can you tell me, Sri Lakshmi, levels of test execution? We have some levels of test execution.
Yeah. Functional testing.
Functional testing is not level of execution. That is type of testing. Functional testing, performance testing, security testing. These are types of testing. Types of testing. I am asking test execution levels. And just remember, test levels different. Test levels. We have 4 levels of testing. What are the 4 levels of testing? Unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. Those are test levels. I am asking test execution levels. Sanity testing. Continue.
Yeah, sanity testing, smoke testing.
Sanity, smoke, both are synonyms. As per industry standards, both are synonyms. See, some people say sanity is different, smoke is different. That is controversy concept. But as per industry standards, sanity, smoke are synonyms. Okay. Next, any other test type, any other test execution level?
Comprehensive testing.
Yes, comprehensive testing means complete testing, executing all possible test cases. Next, regression testing. Observe. First, levels of test execution levels. Sanity testing, or you can say build verification testing, or build acceptance testing, etc. names, but widely using term is sanity testing. Preeti Joshi, can you tell me what is sanity testing? Do you heard this term, sanity testing?
Yeah, but I don't remember right now.
It is in all, it is in manual testing and test automation also. It is mandatory. It is one of the test execution level. See, observe, functional testing, performance testing, security testing, recovery testing, usability testing, all are test types. Test types. Next, unit testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing. These are test levels. Next, sanity testing, regression testing. These are test execution levels. Next, sanity testing. Tushar, what is sanity testing, Tushar?
It's just to make sure the application is testable and all the main functions are working properly.
Good, good. See, verifying whether the build, software build, verifying whether the build is acceptable or not by executing basic functionality tests. Example, login like. See, build acceptance testing. Sanity testing means verifying whether the build is acceptable or not by executing basic functionality tests. Okay na, Preeti? Any confusion?
No, sir, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Next, after sanity testing, suppose build is acceptable, we accepted the build, then comprehensive testing. Complete testing means executing all possible test cases. Executing all possible test cases. See, comprehensive testing. Executing all possible test cases. Next, during comprehensive testing, if you find any mismatches, means deviation from expected, report defects. See, reporting defects. Next, tracking defects, tracking for status, tracking defects. Next, after receiving the modified build, again sanity testing. After receiving the modified build, again sanity testing. Sanity testing on every modified build. Sanity testing. After sanity testing, next select test cases.
Questions.
Modified
Modified build, we do regression testing, right, sir? Or sanity testing, sir?
Regression testing after sanity testing.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. After sanity, see, sanity is mandatory for every build, every modified build. After sanity, then regression.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. See, on first build, first sanity, then comprehensive testing. Next builds, sanity, regression, sanity, regression, sanity, regression. At the end, final regression. Okay, select test cases for a regression testing. Next, regression testing. Regression testing. Retesting, regression testing. What is the difference, Sailaja? Sri Lakshmi, retesting and regression testing. Combined activities. See, most of the people saying regression testing only, but complete form is and regression testing. Regression testing means?
Regression testing means if there is any changes, then once the sanity testing is done, then we will do the regression testing. Retesting means, I think, if you do the regression testing again.
See, observe. Retesting means executing last time passed cases. Why passed cases? Suppose any dependencies are there. Just a minute, I will show an example. Suppose test case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. Suppose you executed test case 1, pass, test case 2, passed, next test case 3, failed. Okay. See, we have to select this test case 3, failed test case. We have to execute this failed test case on modified build. Whether this failed test case, last time failed test case, this time passed or not. That is retesting, executing last time failed cases, retesting. Next, suppose test case 2, test case 3, dependable cases. Next, we execute test case 2 and 3 on modified build. Why test case 2? Test case 2 already passed. Suppose I selected TC2 and TC3 for re and regression testing. For re and regression testing. Observe Preeti. Say test case 1 passed, 2 passed, 1 passed, 2 passed, 3 failed. On modified build, I am going to execute test case 2 and test case 3. Test case 3, last time failed. I have to confirm this time. That is retesting. I also selected test case 2. Why? Dependency is there. See, based on modifications, any side impacts introduced or not, I need to check. For that, I selected test case 2 also. Got the point, Preeti? Any confusion? Preeti?
Yes, sir, I got it.
See, test case 3 failed. That we have to select. But test case 2 also dependent. Test case 2 and test case 3. These are dependent cases. That's why I selected test case 2 also. Based on this modification, any side impacts introduced or not, I have to check. Okay. This failed test cases, executing last time failed test cases comes under, Sri Lakshmi, observe, comes under
retesting.
Retesting. Executing last time passed test cases.
That's under regression testing.
Regression testing. See, complete form is re and regression testing. In this level, we execute last time failed cases and dependent passed cases also. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another name of regression testing is confirmation testing. Any confusion, Rahman?
No, sir, I'm fine.
Okay, cool. Cycle 1. See, standard test case, sanity test cases, constant, fixed, but regression test cases, dynamic, depends on strength of the development team and complexity of the application. Sanity test cases, constant, regression test cases, dynamic. Okay, cycle 1. Okay, during re and regression testing, if you find any defects, same cycle. Reporting defects, tracking defects. Reporting defects, tracking defects. Next, cycle 2. Just a minute. See, re and regression testing. See, most of the people saying just a regression testing, but complete form, full form is re and regression testing. Cycle 2. In this cycle 2 also, observe Kamala, once again sanity testing na?
Sir. Yeah.
Sanity testing.
Sanity.
Every time build verification is mandatory. Next,
yes.
Cycle regression cycle 2 test cases execution.
Yes, sir.
Re and regression. Re and regression. Cycle 2. Tests execution. Next, after that, same. Reporting defects and tracking defects. Next, like this. Regression cycle 3, regression cycle 4, depends on your application. At the end, final regression. See, regression testing 2 levels. General regression, final regression. Final regression. Here we select test cases from high defect density areas. Once again confirmation. See, these are the different levels. Can you tell me, Srivalli, important tasks in test execution phase of software test process? Srivalli.
Task, verify test environment setup.
Good.
Create test batches.
Create test batches. Then?
Those are the tasks. And test execution.
Yes, test execution. Here some levels of test execution. What are the levels?
Testing.
First level?
Sanity testing.
Sanity testing. Next?
Comprehensive testing.
Next?
And reporting defects.
Okay, reporting defects, tracking defects. Next?
Tracking defects.
After,
once we receive the modified build, again we have to
yes,
do the
again sanity testing. Cycle practice. Again sanity testing. Next, select test cases for re and regression testing. Next, re and regression testing. Cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle.
Reporting defects.
Reporting defects, tracking defects in every cycle. Next, at the end,
final test.
Final regression. You can say final regression. Final regression. Okay. Next, here output. Tushar, are you following? Any confusion?
I have a question, sir. Madhavi.
Tell me, Madhavi.
Yeah, this one re and regression testing cycle 2, and then again you put re and regression cycle 2 test execution. What is that?
See, elaborated that one. Just a minute. Here, just a minute. Select test cases. You can change this sequence. Cycle 1, for example. Now observe. Observe. First sanity over, then started comprehensive. In comprehensive, reporting defects and tracking defects over. Next, received modified build. Started regression test cycle 1. Again, sanity testing. Then one more activity, select test cases for regression testing. Next, okay, good question. I think you understood that concept. Okay, I will provide clarity. cycle 1 tests execution, next reporting defects, tracking defects, next cycle 2 tests here also you can enter that one. Select, again select, every time selection required for every regression cycle. Select test cases for regression cycle 2, regression testing cycle 2, select test cases for regression testing cycle 1. Now observe, Madhavi.
Yes, sir.
Observe. First sanity on initial build, next comprehensive after accepting the build, next reporting defects and tracking defects over. After receiving the modified build, start regression testing cycle 1. In this cycle, first again sanity testing, next select cases for regression cycle 1, next execute, next report defects and track defects over. Next, after receiving modified build, cycle 2 starts, again sanity testing, next selection, next execution, next report defects, track defects, next cycle 3, cycle 4, like that, final regression. Okay na?
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Welcome. Next, output of this phase, opened and closed defect reports. Opened and closed defect reports. Next, tested software. Opened and closed defect reports. Closed defect reports, okay. Say after confirmation, we close defects. After confirmation, testers close defects. What about opened defect reports, Sri Lakshmi? Still open.
Open means if there is a defect which was not cleared or not solved, and the defects will be open, but they will solve it in the next build.
Good. Say sometimes we postpone defects due to time concerns, etc. Maybe solved in next build, but generally we postpone low priority defects only. Opened and closed defect reports, tested software. Okay na, Preeti? Shall we move to next phase?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Fourth one, test closure. See here also input. Requirements mandatory. Sometimes we need to cross check. Requirements. Next, test plan. Document. Next, opened and closed defect reports, etc. Next, in this phase, test lead prepares test summary report summarizing all test activities for the test summary report template. Test summary report template. Okay. Tasks. See, important tasks. Evaluating the exit criteria. Where you can find exit criteria, Tushar? Where you can find exit criteria?
Test plan, sir.
Yes, in test plan document you can find exit criteria. See, evaluating exit criteria. Evaluating exit criteria. Next, collect all documents from all team members. Next, collect all documents and prepare test summary report. Test summary report summarizing all test activities. See, suppose in our project 900 test cases wrote, created 900 test cases, executed 872 test cases, passed, failed in first cycle, in second cycle, like this, summarizing test cases, summarizing test activities, all test activities. How many test cases written, how many executed, next how many defects raised in first cycle, in second cycle, etc. Next, send test deliverables. Test deliverables. Test deliverables to customer or customer side people. Send test deliverables. Can you tell me, Preeti, what are the test deliverables? Generally, what we deliver?
Yeah, what kind of requirement to be covered in this build, that kind of things we can deliver to the customer.
Less clarity. Can you tell me, Sri Lakshmi, what we deliver?
Test plan. Test plan. And test results.
Okay, see what documents we produce during testing all comes under test deliverables. See, test plan, test case docs, test data docs, and defect reports all belongs to test deliverables. What documents we produce during testing all are test deliverables. Test plan, test cases, test data, opened and closed defect reports, etc. See, including test summary report. Next, one optional task, improvement suggestions. Improvement suggestions for future projects. See, these are the important tasks in test closure phase. Tell me, Tushar, important tasks in test closure phase.
Evaluating the exit criteria and also collect documents, prepare test summary report, send test deliverable to customer, and also lesson learn, improvement suggestion for the future projects.
Okay. See, now come to mainstream Selenium test process. Okay na, Srivalli? Software test process. Actually, it is not part of our syllabus. I have given a brief idea about software test process. Okay?
I have a question, sir.
Just a minute. Srivalli, complete Srivalli.
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Continue, Madhavi.
Yeah, what I didn't understand. Please, can you explain like test type and test execution level?
See, Madhavi, that is manual testing concept. That is not part of our syllabus. Just see. Test levels. You need to familiar with testing terms. Test levels. We have 4 levels of testing. Tell me what are the test levels?
Functional testing?
Functional testing is not level. That is type.
Oh, sanity testing?
No. Sri Lakshmi, can you tell me test levels? We have 4 levels of testing.
Yeah, smoke testing.
No.
Comprehensive.
No, that is execution level. Test level. Rahman.
Unit testing.
Pardon?
Sir, I can try.
Somebody.
Unit testing?
Yes.
Krishna.
Just a minute. Unit testing. Okay, testers may vary from one level to another. In unit testing, testers are developers. At system testing level, testers are independent testers. Acceptance testing level, testers are end users. Testers may vary from one level to another, but testing is same. Unit testing, next.
Integration
testing. Next, our area, system testing. See, independent testers conduct system testing. Next, end users conduct acceptance testing. See, some are telling user acceptance testing. Okay, user acceptance testing is subset of acceptance testing. See, main is acceptance testing level, user acceptance testing, operational acceptance testing, certification testing comes under acceptance testing. Those are subsets of acceptance testing. Okay, that is primary one is user acceptance testing only, but user acceptance testing is subset of acceptance testing. Others also there. Operational acceptance, user acceptance, operational acceptance, and certification testing. Okay, we have 4 levels of testing: unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. Okay. Next, test types. Observe the terms, Madhavi. Functional and non-functional. Suppose functional testing, next performance testing, next usability testing, reliability testing, next configuration testing, compatibility testing, next localization testing, internalization testing, etc. These are test types. Next, I told sanity, etc. Test execution levels. Test execution levels. Observe, Madhavi. Test level different, test execution levels different. Sanity or smoke, synonyms. Testing. Next, comprehensive testing. Next, and regression testing. See, test design techniques. Test design techniques. Black box. Next, white box techniques. Next, you ask na, I will list out all important terms. Experience based. Tell me, Madhavi, some black box test design techniques.
Sorry, sir.
Give some examples for black box test design techniques. Sri Lakshmi. So first familiar with manual testing. That is core. That is base for any type of testing. See, equivalent classes. Equivalent classes. EC or EP, equivalent partition. Next, boundary value analysis. Next, decision table testing. Decision table testing. Next, decision table testing. Next, state transition testing. State transition testing. Next, use case testing, etc. See, these are the black box test design techniques. We use black box test design techniques in manual testing. Next, developers use white box test design techniques for unit testing. These are statement testing, next condition testing, next decision testing, etc. Next, experience based techniques. Experience based techniques for informal testing. See, black box and white box for formal testing. Experience based for informal testing. Can you tell me, Preeti Joshi, give examples for experience based test design techniques?
No, I don't have any ideas.
Exploratory testing. You heard this term, exploratory testing. Next, error guessing. Etc. Observe Madhavi. Madhavi asked this question. Observe Madhavi. Repeat your question once again. Repeat your question.
What is the difference to test level and test type? I didn't understand.
You didn't understand. Now?
Yeah, I understood now.
See, test type. Functional testing is test type. Isn't it? Sanity testing is test execution level. Unit testing is test level. See, find the difference between test levels and test types. Next, test levels and test execution levels. Okay, na? Next,
yes, sir.
I'm asking one simple question to Sri Lakshmi. Database testing, one term is there, na?
Data validation testing.
Okay, database testing. Where you can put that database testing in this segregation? Database testing. Database testing is test level or test type or test execution level or test design technique? Database testing?
It's a test design technique.
No. Can you tell me, Srivalli, database testing is there, na important one? Where you can insert that database testing in these 4 classifications?
In the test level.
Test level? Where? No. Database testing is independent concept, that is comes under test type only. You can find database testing in functional testing. See, in functional testing, this is subset of database testing, one of the subset. And one more thing, database testing is a subset of functional testing, but it is not only part of database testing. In performance testing also you can find database testing. In performance testing also you can find database testing. Okay na, Madhavi? Hello?
Yes, sir.
In performance testing we test data volume also. That is under database. In functional testing we validate data integrity, data comparisons, data manipulations, etc. Okay, database testing is subset of functional testing as well as in performance testing also it is subset. Database testing is test type, but it is part of functional testing as well as performance testing. Okay na? Sri Lakshmi, shall we move to next topic?
Yes, sir.
Okay, come to mainstream.
Sir?
Sir? Ask
So
me.
the loaded testing is considered as it will come under the test types, right?
Pardon?
Load testing,
yes,
it will come under
just
the test.
Load testing is subset of performance testing. That is type, subtype. Type is performance, subtype. Just a minute. In performance testing, load testing, stress testing, next spike testing, next endurance testing, next data volume testing, that is database testing, all are subtests. Now understand the concept. What is the relation between performance testing and load testing? Tell me, Preeti.
Yep, the load testing is subset of performance testing.
Yes, load testing is subset of performance testing. Performance testing, other subsets, load testing, stress testing, spike testing, endurance testing, data volume testing, etc. See, relation between, say, performance, load testing also type, but comes under performance testing. Load testing, stress testing, spike testing, endurance testing, data volume testing, all are subsets of performance testing. Okay na? In functional testing also some subsets available. Okay. Anyhow, manual testing concept. Okay, na?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Last 2 minutes. Tomorrow we will continue. What is our mainstream? Selenium test process, or you can say Selenium test life cycle. First we discussed manual test process. Manual test process or software testing life cycle. Our concern is Selenium test process. Okay, in order to understand Selenium test process or UFT test process or load runner test process, first you need to familiar with manual test process, software test process. That's why I explained a manual test process. Actually, it is not part of our syllabus. Here, first, just phase headings. Tomorrow I will discuss. Tell me, Rahman. 5 phases I explained at beginning of the chapter. What are the phases in Selenium test process?
So first one is test planning section.
Just a minute.
Number 2 is generating basic.
Test planning. Test planning. Number 2.
Generating basic test.
Generating basic tests. Basic tests. Say in manual testing, test design only one single phase, but here we divided test design phase into 2 phases. Generating basic tests, next enhancing tests. What is the difference? These two comes under test design only. What is the difference? Generating basic test means creating plain navigation. Enhancing tests means inserting verification points, adding comments, error handling with respect to requirements. Observe. Generating basic tests means creating plain navigation. Plain navigation. Enhancing tests means inserting verification points, adding comments, error handling, parameterization if required with respect to requirements. Next,
running and debugging test.
Good. Running or executing. Run, execute, synonyms. Running and debugging tests. Say running tests mandatory, but debugging tests optional. Only for some test cases debugging required, but we run all test cases, but debugging only for some test cases. That I will explain tomorrow. Debugging is optional, but running tests mandatory. Okay, running, debugging, combined tasks. Next, last one.
Last one is analyzing test result and reporting defects.
Good. Analyzing test results and reporting defects. Okay. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. I will explain these phases. Any queries, Sri Lakshmi? Today's topic, software test process before Selenium test process. Any queries before closing the session? Ask me. Sri Lakshmi, Sri Valli.
No, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Kamala.
Sir, question, sir.
Sir,
retesting means whatever the failed test cases we re-execute, right?
Yes.
Sir? That is called retesting.
Yes. Failed cases.
Yeah.
Regression means last time passed cases. Why?
Yes.
If any impacts are introduced or not based on modifications.
Yes. Modification. Yes.
But these are combined. Don't divide.
Yeah.
And regression testing is complete form, full form. But some are saying just a regression testing. But regression means complete form is and regression testing. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever the impact on the old test cases includes.
Yes, that we have to execute.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Preeti, any queries?
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Welcome. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow, same time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.